The world will know that free men stood against a tyrant, that few stood against many. And before this battle was over, that even a god king can bleed.
Here we go. Law number 22, submission. So before we started, I had a little note here that I wanted to share with you guys. It says, it was just my commentary on why we need to go through things, my appreciation for what I've experienced and this book because of the healing of this literature from the articulation of the game, so all of the manipulations that you experience working within the rat life, the abuse that I experienced and fought. And whether that's having a conversation with someone, whether that's you reading it in a book, whether that's when I go on my Instagram, I find that my algorithm oftentimes is a projection of like my subconscious or where I am in my healing journey. And so as I unlock these new levels of, we'll say spiritual enlightenment, we'll say of consciousness, you're seeing these new people that you haven't seen before. And I literally view them as sort of spirit guides, that now this is my new guide for this leg of the path. And they'll be describing something to me about the exact same thing that I'm going through, that I'm persevering through, that I'm mentally, combating with, as if to give me the reassurance that I need at that time that I need it. And so it's literally the world, God, universe unfolding in real time and helping guide you on that path as you surrender to the flow. And it's quite healing. And then I thought about it and I said, what if that's exactly representative of how I'm in the exact right place at the exact right time, from having endured all of the abuse that I did from my rat life job to now be in a position where I can articulate the abuse that I endured, how I mentally combated it, and how healing is that for the person watching this who perhaps endured or is enduring the exact same thing. And that gives you so much sort of closure, peace of mind, because a recurring theme, at least within my circumstance, was, is it just me? Is it just me? Is it in my head? When in reality, it's like, no, this is just sheer abuse. This is perpetual manipulation. This is just bullying. This is just bullshit. And that is what I learned, is unless you get the full picture, unless you're gifted the full picture, or someone confirming what all of these serpents don't confirm because they're the ones imploring the abuse, they'll actually get you confused to the point where you think it's all in your head. And that is where these serpents and snakes want their victim. They use gaslighting as their number one sort of, weapon. Their number one, that the most ammunition that they have, that we're going to go over in this lecture today, is they'll be doing the abuse and then they'll accuse you of the abuse that they're doing. And so it's quite confusing. It's quite, it's the biggest smoke screen, because then you do this mental 180 and you're just like, am I the one who lacks ownership, who lacks accountability, who isn't, doing this? It's like, wait a second, I think you're just a manipulative snake. So I just wanted to share that appreciation, and so that's why I put this note. It's so cool that the reason that we need to go through things, because it's not something that we think about. We don't think when we're going through hell, wow, I'm so glad that I'm going through this because this is going to allow me to help and reach somebody else one day in the future who's going through the exact same thing, right? That's not a mindset that we have, and it's not a solace that we like to hear from other people. You're going to be happy and grateful that you're going through this hell that you're going through right now, so, quit bitching, right? Nobody wants to hear that while they're going through it, even if there's truth to that, even if it's completely true, even if everything that you're going through right now is absolutely conducive to your best interest, to your greatest good, to your highest potential. You say you want the dream partner that you have, and the next day you find yourself breaking up with your horrific, toxic, abusive relationship, but then you're in this, sort of mental, emotional turmoil. But that's literally God giving you exactly what you said that you wanted. And a really good illustration to sort of set the scene for today's lecture is the idea of this towering effect. So imagine a building, sort of a tower of a building imploding and then crushing down. Your new life that you want is going to cost you your old life. That's the price. That is the deal. So if you feel like your life is just fucking crumbling, if you just look around and everything is going to shit, that is exactly proof and evidence that you're getting to the next level, right? Because in order for me to get to here, to these greener pastures, this has to die. How do we do that? This all has to go to hell. And so it'll happen in a way that you least expect. I know that's the most cheesiest, overused thing, but I can attest for this personally, because it was my last expectation for how I was going to be liberated from my place of perpetual abuse, that I would get accusations filed against me from this serpent, with attorneys getting involved for my abusive behavior, my disrespectful conduct. And the consequence of that, of me being placed on paid administrative leave, right? That wasn't my towering expectation. That wasn't my evolution expectation. That wasn't my liberation presumption, right? I didn't think that this was going to be how I was going to escape this hell and then go on to the next level, right? But when you allow yourself to surrender to God, to God's will, to your nature's design, and you stop resisting, you stop fighting the current of life that is trying to get you, and I love this so much, because you can think of anybody who's gone so far astray. Like, I can speak for myself personally. When I took on the venture of Rat Life, got, $15,000 in debt that has taken me over 3.5 years to pay off, that resulted in me doing whatever it took to pay that off, including living in my car for 93 days. All of the things that I've endured over the past several years, whether it's the multiple drug overdoses, homelessness, living in a hostel in Santa Ana that was riddled with drug addicts, alcoholics. I had a neighbor that was a prostitute, that her clients would come over at 3 a.m, and cockroaches would be coming out of my sink. And I was taking the bus at the time, and I just said, this isn't fucking cute anymore. But then I'll tell you what I did, and then I want to tie it into Robert Downey Jr. But while the cockroaches were coming out of my sink, I said, this is your fault. This is your fault. But I had the gift of foresight from Jim Rohn to not use the past as a baton to beat yourself to death with. Use it as a tool to learn from. And I said, this is your fault. And then I went like this, and I said, but you know what? What's to come? That's your fault too. And I didn't know it at the time, but it wouldn't be my fault as much as God's grace, And what I love about this the most is the story from Robert Downey Jr., where he was imprisoned, and then he was addicted to black tar heroin, and somebody who goes so far astray, they live out in real time by having the courage to embark on their hero's journey by accepting what God has called them to do. This single quote that says, the road that you take away from your destiny is going to be the exact road that guides you to it. And I love that so much. And that's the beauty about your journey, that anything that you deem as a mistake, as a wrong turn, was always written. It was always written for you to make that mistake seemingly, for you to make that decision, right? For you to go down that path. It was all part of the plan towards your inevitable highest good, so long as you continue to play the video game. You continue to move forward. You don't give up. That's the sole key of the university. You do not quit. You do not submit, ever. And so in the law that we're going to go over today, I had sort of ego come into play when he first broached this. Use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power, and then it opens saying, this law demonstrates, and I put this as my commentary, this law demonstrates pure cowardice. I said submission. And then this is a quote from the book. Surrender conceals great power, cutting the enemy into complacency. It gives you time to recoup, time to undermine, time for revenge. Never sacrifice that time in exchange for honor in a battle that you cannot win. And I thought, when I read that the first time, I thought that was nothing but fucking cowardice. Because, again, the biggest thing that this book omits is the divine power that you have when you harness God. And when you're going down your path and you have His favor and His grace and His guidance and His armor and His protection, As in the battle that I'm going through right now with all these serpents, with all these snakes, in this literal snake pit, right, of all these demons, nothing gives me greater peace, reassurance, calm, resolve that I'm going to win this victory, because I am divinely protected. As in, I have angels fighting for me that I don't even know about. People vouching for me just because my courage has inspired them. People that God has instilled that courage within their heart to speak the truth for the betterment on my behalf. And also there's a bigger plan at play. I'm not taking full, this is all about me during this process. I'm a simple cog in a much bigger wheel of this abuse and treachery. Like I said in a prior lecture, I'm just the unraveling of the thread to see the spool of disease and satanic behavior and bullying and abuse fucking crumble in that, towering illustration. So that as a result, beauty and love can flourish once again. And so that's what I had when I first read this. I had a lot of animosity, because these were my notes. I put number 1, the 300 hoplites from, if you've ever seen the movie 300, which I introed in this lecture, imagine if the Spartans had taken the coward's way out. Imagine if they used the surrender tactic and to transform weakness into power. They would be subject to slavery. Their women, it's a quote from the movie, he said, "Your women will be slaves or worse," period. And so what the king did, the king of the 300 hoplite soldiers, and they had other people too. I think in total it was, this would just be pure conjecture, I want to say it was either like 3,700 of them. I don't remember. But they had other allying help when they went into it's one of the most famous final stands in warfare history was the Battle of Thermopylae. And I put, imagine if they had surrendered, because what was the ripple effect of their courage? It was uniting the Greek city-states to take down that Persian horde, to take down tyranny. And if it wasn't for the courage of those men who laid down their lives, that never would have happened. That catalyst never would have taken place, right? All it took was one man's courage. So I had the biggest disdain for this law at first. I said, because there's a perfect scene from that same movie where he looks at the snake motherfucker who gave in to the rout of cowardice, Ephialtes.
You there, Ephialtes? May you live forever.
And he pointed to him, knowing of his betrayal, his act of being Judas. And he said, "You there, Ephialtes, may you live forever." And there was a look of pity in his eyes. And there was a look of the deepest shame within Ephialtes' eyes, right? That hunchback creature. And so that's what I thought. I thought there's no greater fucking cowardice. But I wasn't thinking of it from this law, and then I'll get into it, in terms of perceived surrender in order to take down a tyrannical enemy, a serpent snake. And then I had a greater, deeper appreciation for this, because it's exactly what I was imploring, and I'll explain how. But it doesn't talk about that. It doesn't talk about the courage that one group, one party, because he talks about martyrdom and how you want that to be your last sort of resort. And he even puts in his sort of reversal, which is the opposite of you enacting the surrender tactic, is you operating as the martyr. It omits the benefit of you doing it. It doesn't even talk about this, for a duty to your wife, to your children, to your country. And I was thinking about it prior to recording this lecture. And when I'm talking about duty to your country, I'm not talking about the bullshit of today's politics, of you just being a fucking pawn to die in a bullshit war for nothing. I'm talking about like the 300 hoplite soldiers who lay down their lives for the freedom of all of Greece against a tyrannical dictator. That's real heroism. That's real courage. That's real sacrifice of your life for honor and for duty. Because he talks about this in this law, just doing it for glory, for your glory. And the other thing that's omitted is the power that you have with God on your side. And that's the one thing that he talks about. He talks about this idea that the person who enacts the courage, who goes down the path of martyrdom, he said it's very unpredictable in the sense that you don't know if you're going to inspire a religious war or a rebellion, after the fact, after other people seeing your courage. But the people who I thought of was Leonidas. The people who I thought of was William Wallace, who eventually brought down the fucking tyranny of the English Empire. Those were the people that I thought of. And then I thought about myself within my current situation with all these serpents that I'm battling in my litigious circumstance with work. And I thought about it in my reflection, and I said, it isn't unpredictable. It's unpredictable if you're not aligning with God, if you're not aligning with truth, if you're not doing what's right, if you're not the one like Spartacus standing up for what's right, freedom for everyone, saying to fuck with slavery, to saying that every person, as a good quote from the TV show, that any man, any woman, any child can live their life with freedom, the taste of freedom forever upon their lips, right? To shatter the shackles of slavery, right? And all it takes is good men to stand idle for this fucking tyranny to perpetually stand. And so there's no unpredictability with your victory when you know in your heart that you're aligning with God, that you're having the courage to speak the truth, even when you're alone, even when you're cast out. Like right now, I'm on paid administrative leave. I'm literally banished, right? You have no idea the courage that will inspire in other people to speak the truth, to stand up to bullies. And all it takes is fucking one. And you could be that guy. So I wanted to preface the entire lecture with that premise, that if you're in this university, if you're on the path to your best self, to aligning with God, to doing that walk, it's going to require a lot of courage because you're going to be alone, right? Who is persecuted worse than Christ? Do you know what I'm saying? So I saw, or there's a really good quote again from the Bible that you'll get wrecked essentially for following the path to be Christ-like, but not a hair on your head will be harmed. And that's the calm and comfort that I have with that reassurance that I'm divinely protected. I'm wearing God's armor, so there's no unpredictability in my victory. And I posted this thing on that I cropped from one of these lectures on Instagram about what happens when you align with God. And I was trying to talk about shattering the limiting belief of living in a state of lack in regards to attracting money. I said in a prior lecture, I said, I wonder if that's how money works. Just as you attract people, just as you attract, if you're a guy, you're attracting women into your life. I said, what if money works the same? It's just a frequency that you have to align with. But rather than, you aligning with that vibrational frequency and match of abundance, money doesn't just appear, but the world literally shifts your reality, shifts. Imagine you're walking, right? And doors just literally, as if you're walking into the mall and those automatic doors open, that's the world shifting for you. And you become this co-creator, as in the world is moving to you in real time, right? It's reacting to your actions, to your steps, right? And I said, rather than money just, being attracted to you on a whim, right? Just because, I'm in this peace and this calm. No. What if you're aligning with the frequency for the world and God to reflect that abundance that you're sending out? And we learned from Joe Dispenza that your thoughts carry information. It's like a 3-meter diameter literal ball of energy around you. And so when you're thinking abundance, you're literally sending out information on this frequency wave, just as if you're tapping into a radio station. And that it has picture clear audio, right? And then instead of the actual money being presented to you, no, it's opportunities, it's other people, it's other, circumstances, conditions, and events that result in you being provided for. So I shared with this person who, today actually I sent them a DM that they're in the same boat. They're in the same boat in trying to align with that frequency of abundance to solve that sort of money problem. And I said, the greatest reassurance that I had, number one, was that illustration of life literally unfolding for you in real time. But number two, that once you surrender full trust that you will be provided by God, I said, that is what shattered that lack resonance, that lack frequency that I was formerly vibrating at. That was the turnkey. to put me on this new path of just calm, of peace, of reassurance, of abundance, of a default software. So I'm reprogramming the software within my mind, within my heart, that no matter what, I'm good. No matter what, I'm taken care of. And we talk about affirmations and you repeating shit that you don't believe to yourself over and over and over. But this is when you embody the feeling and the belief. Quite different from saying something that you know to be pretty bullshit, that you know that you don't have a strong enough belief or conviction. But when you align with something like that, and you've been gifted with certain videos that sort of reaffirm that it's not in your head, that you're not crazy, that no, you did experience abuse, that what you're going through is happening for you, that is when you shift from being that sort of drifting soul to literally seeing your life unfold in real time. And I think it's just the journey to getting back to presence. That's where all of your power is. When you're in the present moment and you have 100% focus on whatever single task that you're doing, you will see your life unfold in real time. And I sent this other part of the message to her, and I hope this isn't getting jumbled up. I hope any of this is resonating, because I know I'm sort of speaking a lot on this prior to going into the notes. But I told her the beauty about it is the illustration I tried to draw, that God, you can say the universe, if it helps you conceptualize it, God is trying to get you to just literally surrender to the current, to the life's current that will literally take you exactly where it is that you want to go. But we're holding on to this part of the dam because we're looking downstream, terrified of where this, could lead. And then we project our worst case scenario limiting belief, right? That if I let go, and I had these limiting beliefs, that's me giving up, or other people, you might say this is gonna fail, it's not gonna work, because you're leaning on your own understanding, which is something that I have to, a lesson that's getting repeated to me over and over and over, to stop leaning on my own understanding. But again, that requires a lot of humility. There's such a hilarious video that this guy has like a painting of a pineapple, and then the top thing, I forget what the caption is, and then the other guy has this amazing painting, and then the only thing that I thought of, because of the support from the guy who had the brilliant painting, I put was God's plan. So it's like you showing God what your plan is, and then the guy says, he's like, that's very good. And then he's like, now show me yours. And then he pulls out this fucking masterpiece that he did in a single day. And that's literally the difference between you following your hell-bent, this is going to happen, it has to happen in this sequence, like so much resistance to the current, and then God's plan that just, if you just relax, if you just calm down, if you just surrender to the current, this is where I'm going to take you.
Very good.
Yeah? And yours? You did that?
Yeah, just this morning.
Fuck off.
What?
You did not paint that this morning.
Yes, I did.
You did not paint that this morning.
I did.
I don't believe you.
You drew the pineapple.
My pineapple is shit.
Well, it just needs a bit of shading.
Oh, shut up.
Little charcoal.
When did you learn so much about art?
I learnt it for a role.
Which role?
David Frost.
What could he paint?
Are you angry with me for having a hobby?
Evidently, yeah.
And then I told her in this message that I sent to the person who was trying to align with, truth and God, or shatter the limiting belief of lack. I said, I think it's the equivalent of you thinking the worst case scenario, you thinking, you're gonna die, that if you take this sort of leap of faith, and then when you take that plunge, you let go of the dam that you're holding on to, and then you allow yourself to surrender to the current of life, and you are cast into that sort of abyss, rather than you getting decimated. When you take that lunge into the unknown, it transmutes, it alchemizes into a feather bed. And I think that's the gift God gifts us for our trust, for our belief, for our courage. Our courage to pursue, our courage to believe, but our courage also to let go. And you can apply this to your life. If you're finding so much resistance, you're forcing something. And if you tried something so many times and you're getting no, food for thought. It could be God, the universe, trying to direct you into a different path. Now, don't confuse that with a lack of perseverance, right? But I learned this from Jim Carrey. The best thing is his conceptualization of how the game works is you letting God, letting the universe, know what it is that you want and let going of the how and when. Letting go of the how and the when, right? So you're surrendering to how it happens, right? And then you're allowing yourself to go with that flow, but you know what it is that you want. So you have that intentionality, and then you're working towards it, but you're fluid to how it comes to pass, right? Because if you think about how limiting it is to say that the only way I can have what it is that I want is in this one sequence, is in this one timeline, is in this one, it has to be this way, in this fashion, in this order. When God could give it to you in a million different ways, right? So we have to remind ourselves to harbor that humility, to let go. Because a lot of times, I can speak for this personally, I think that if I don't, push through and fight for this, that's me giving up. When in reality, it's like, no, just relax, just calm down, just surrender to the current. It's always going to be okay. You're always going to be fine. And then whatever you need to sort of remind yourself about how to substantiate that claim. I've survived 100% of my worst days, the worst of the worst, and I've managed to persevere. Because one thing that we do, and I can speak for this on myself, one thing that I always do, is I don't celebrate the wins. I omit the celebration of the wins, and I put so much effort and focus and hype about my failures. And so I magnify all of my fuck-ups, and then I omit the celebration and the reward of all of my victories. And that's terrible conditioning, because then you're not motivated, you're not inspired to continue to pursue victories or to just celebrate yourself, right? To celebrate how far you've come. And so we magnify this fucking demon of the past, of all of our failures. Good quote from Jim Rohn. The reason that it's so hard for us to love ourselves is because we're so hyper aware of all of our failures, neglects, and shortcomings, right? When we look at ourselves in the mirror, we know where we could improve. When I look at my physique on my transformation, I see all of my weak points. And I just, okay, you're like, you don't compliment yourself. You don't say, wow, I'm so proud of you, I love you. You say, okay, my calves need improvement. Okay, where are my rear delts? Okay, my forearms are non-existent. Okay, I have muscular imbalance in my pectorals, in my chest. I say, and you just fucking shit on yourself and bring yourself all the way down, versus what if it's 95% appreciation, gratitude, 5% or 10% hunger? How can I improve, right? So that way we're on our perpetual path of closing the gap of who we are and the potential of who we can be, but we're celebrating ourselves and honoring our journey, right? And gifting ourselves grace along the way. So with that, that's where we're at right now. That's the quest, right? The quest is that sort of purification, right? Of us letting go. And so I want to finish with that concluding statement that I'm not talking about giving up. When I was working the rat life, I was doing everything that I possibly could to progress, to elevate, to get a new job, to get the fuck out of where I was. But because I was getting perpetual rejection, it gave me so much confidence within God's plan that because I knew that I tried my best. I knew that I tried my absolute best. And it was just getting failure, wall, rejection, obstacle here. And so I know that when I got pulled out January 8th for being placed on paid administrative leave, that was me making it to until, which is the breakthrough moment. The success cycle goes like this: belief, potential, action, results. That's why I say in the Rat Life mantra, it starts with belief. Because the more belief that you have on the path that you're embarking on, the more potential that you'll tap into. We know potential conceptually is limitless. Whatever you work on, focus on, you'll get better at that thing, right? We all have the potential to be better at anything that we do. Anything. If any person who says otherwise, that's just a fucking limiting belief. So the greater your belief, the more potential you'll tap into from the jump. The more potential you tap into, the more action you'll be motivated and inspired to take. The more action you take, the more results that you'll get. And it's just a cycle like that. So the more results that you get, what's your one thought? Oh, this is working. Oh, I'm going in the right direction. How can I get greater results even faster? Okay, so belief goes way up, potential goes way up, action, massive action now happens, therefore results get way the fuck up here. You do that over and over until you break through. That applies for you pursuing your loving relationship. That applies for you pursuing your physical transformation. That applies for you pursuing your financial prosperity, right? It's just people give up. So I'm not talking about giving up when I'm saying surrendering to God, to surrendering to your maximum nature's design. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you doing everything that you can. Good quote. I'm going to trust like it's on God, but I'm going to work like it's on me. So that's the game. Here we go. So now I want to shift. Now I want to show you where I lost the disdain for this law of use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power, for a representation of submission, even though I felt validity in my claim for it initially. Because I put this as the note, you have no idea the power in one man's courage, for the reasons I discussed. And I put submit to slavery or fight to the death for freedom. And then under submit to slavery, I put survive, right? What would happen if King Leonidas and his 300 hoplite soldiers went this fucking coward's way out and, went the route of submission, right? Okay, then your wife, then your children, slaves, or worse, right? So when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about it from the stance of a protector, of a provider, as any young man watching this should be. But what Robert Greene is going to invite for consideration is the appearance of surrender. And I utilize this weapon, this tool in my arsenal to combat the snake serpents and ultimately, and I know this is foreshadowing, achieve my victory, right? All empowered by God. I don't want to omit that whatsoever. And the armor that he gifted me, adorned me with, and the reliability that is cemented from you aligning with the truth, from you aligning with doing what's right, you standing up even when everyone else is petrified to do that, but you know it's the fucking right thing. You enacting that quote you saw in your fucking elementary school when you were a child, stand up for what you believe in, even if you're standing alone, right? We live in a world where everyone has these little quotes, little mantras, little euphemisms that they never practice what they preach. So it's all bullshit. In a previous law, we talked about the idea of trust is in alignment with your words to your actions. So don't ever trust appearances of a fucking snake who's just has a really, really good forked tongue, right? Be observant, be perspicacious, be awake, stand guard at the doorway of your mind. Look at their actions. They say this, they're able to manipulate you to feel bad for what they're doing, but they're the ones doing the fucking abuse. And I'll tell you this from a plethora of experience. These motherfuckers know exactly what they're doing. They're not oblivious to it. They're not oblivious to their behavior. They're not oblivious to their abuse, to their bullying. They know exactly what they're doing when they do it. And when you call them out on it, they get off on it. It's a fucking game to these satanic fucks. So I want to make that explicitly clear. It's not in your head. These serpents and snakes and vipers, they know exactly what the fuck that they're doing. So when they make the mistake of attacking one of God's children, which is exactly what you are, when you're aligning with truth, when you're aligning with God, the casualty is their downfall, is that level of fucking arrogance and hubris. And the greatest mistake, it's a quote from the Bible, I'm going to butcher it, I don't have it memorized, but it says like something along the lines of better a millstone to be tied around the neck of this person for laying a hand on a child of God and them being cast in the river than to lay a hand on a child of God, right? And so it shatters that presumption by Robert Greene that there's unreliability in a victory when someone chooses the martyrdom route, the courageous route, right? The Spartacus route of standing up for freedom and for liberty, right? Particularly in the presence of other people who lack either the ability to articulate themselves or the courage to stand up and defend themselves. And so I'm very fortunate from having escaped the rat life the first time, right? Making that leap of faith to pursue entrepreneurship, to develop such a level of stress tolerance that when you go back into the rat life, I didn't have the same fear that I did the first time that I was subject to it. As in, when you've pursued entrepreneurship, when you know how resourceful you are, when necessity demands it, and you have to figure out how you're gonna, make ends meet. When you've been reduced down to like how a sword goes through the forge and iron is sharpened, right? You go through the fire to become so much stronger, to be fortified, to literally be forged. When I got to the level of living in my car for 93 days, literally being homeless, surviving drug overdoses, I didn't lack any courage to call a motherfucker out And so I did that to this weasel rat of one of my superiors, and I did this to the peak serpent snake, because I had no qualms with getting fired for standing up for the fucking truth. And I even said that verbatim to this cuck. I said, I have no qualms getting fired on the basis of integrity. Like that's fine. I can look at myself in the fucking mirror, right? Knowing that I did the right thing, and I'm square with God. But these people who operate in this level of cowardice, they don't have any of those intrinsic morals. They don't harbor that same integrity. They don't have any sort of shame within their actions, within their belief system. And that is truly pathetic and scary, that you feel very, very comfortable going about your day with cowardice. And I always want to elicit the respect of my future woman, right? Of my children. And I know so many guys, particularly within the rat life, who follow in the path of being a cuck, of being a coward, that I know that they go home and they can't even look at their fucking wife in the eyes, right? Because they don't even respect themselves, and because they tolerate this kind of disrespect, and they do this kind of cowardice, that they, the woman, your woman, they don't even look at you with any fucking respect, because you don't respect yourself, because you're not a man, because you're a fucking coward. And so I thought about another quote from the good book. And it was, what do you gain if you get everything that you wanted at the cost of your soul? And I think about these things, and I think, what does a man gain by going down the fucking coward's route, right? By living his life and reaching that old age with all of his riches and all of his wealth as that Ephialtes, right? The one who went the submission route, the one who went the fucking coward's route. What does he gain, right? All you have is you hate yourself. You know that you're a fucking coward when you look at yourself in the mirror. You know the betrayal that you imparted on other people. And so that kills you inside, man. And the people who think or who operate that you see within the rat life, who they get off on the abuse that they're doing, the hell that they're experiencing on a fucking daily basis, the level of fear, the omission of any peace, because anyone who's operating in these satanic, abusive, bullying behaviors, I can promise you they don't have a fucking shred of peace about their life. They're in constant stress, constant cortisol, constant fight or flight, because that's exactly what happens when you choose to harm a child of God and you choose not to align with God and truth, period. So I want to paint that entire scene. And one thing that I can share from my personal experience is when they see you, they're fucking terrified. As in, when a person sees the person that they're abusing and they know exactly what they're doing. I remember I was scanning a piece of paper at the printer, and I have very good situational awareness. I'm not oblivious whatsoever. So I have very good peripheral vision and cognizance. And I remember seeing this fucking serpent snake within my peripheral, and I could see her just freeze out of terror when she saw me. Like when she turned the corner and saw me standing there, and then she went the other way. And you get a deep level of satisfaction and calm and reassurance, knowing that, number one, you're protected, but knowing that just simply you're aligning with God and you're aligning with truth. And these satanic fucks, dude, karma takes care of them. God will have his vengeance on them. You don't have to do any of that. So I hope that paints the scene for this law. But now we're going to get into how you can use the surrender tactic to your benefit and maintain that serenity, maintain that calm, maintain that peace. Because while it may be perceived, and I can speak for this personally, that you're not attaining or achieving a sort of victory or an elevation from your station in life, they're not achieving anything by selling their soul. Promise. I promise. Whatever perceived status or whatever that they're going through, the hell that they're consumed by, the demons that they're consumed by, I can guarantee you that's doing them more pain and agony than they'll ever have the courage to let go and to share. But just know that they're going through fucking hell, and they're terrified of you. They're terrified of you because these people, they're the biggest pussies. The ones who project all of their bullying and all their aggression and all their abuse, deep down, they're so fucking insecure and they're so afraid to look at themselves in the mirror, to admit that everything that they're doing is just a front for how much they fucking hate themselves, how scared they are. And that's all it is. And when you actually distill it down, it's just a scared little girl. It's just a scared little boy. And so you can't take it personally as much as, possible. And I've done my walks with God, thinking about how him knowing the heart of Judas, but still allowing him, to be one of his followers, to be in his, court, to offer him his trust. I've told God, I said, I don't have that. Like, I'm on my, quest to become Christ-like, and I want to specify, not Christian, not Catholic, not Muslim, not any religion, but to be Christ-like, to be a leader amongst leaders, right? To have impeccable character, morality, integrity, honor, courage. Like, that's my quest. That's my quest, hopefully, with anyone that's participating with this university. As in, I want you to become your best self, and that comes with you aligning with God. Because I learned this in my reflections, that I'm just in the pursuit of truth. That's it. And I've learned from studying people, from my own journey, that anybody who pursues truth, you inevitably end up at God. And it's awesome. But that's for everybody on their own journey to find. But what you'll find is you have that godlike spirit within inside of you, because you're part of the whole. You're part of the whole. So if you think of a tree and you think of yourself as one of the branches, you're part of that very divinity. So you have the godlike aura, the godlike divinity inside of you. God isn't a separate entity from you. Do you understand? And so that should give you a lot of, if you knew the kind of power that you had within you from harboring such belief systems, or that, same desire to pursue that path, oh man, the world would be a completely different place if people knew their power. And what I'm going through right now in my sort of hero's journey, I'm just scratching the surface of that cognizance. So if we can share it, if we can talk about it, it's all the better. And the last thing that I want to say before I get into these notes, I don't want to talk about this garbage because it's just a perpetual distraction at the Super Bowl halftime show. But I read the comments of one of the videos that popped up on the 1,000 that were on my Instagram feed, and it made me laugh. It made me laugh a lot. It filled me with a little bit of joy, a little bit of happiness. And the comment said that this rapper has inspired me to increase my level of hating. And it had like 851, or right around there, 850,000 likes. And then another comment, this guy has inspired me to increase my potential with hating. Another comment, and these all have, 50,000, 100,000 plus likes, has inspired me so much to hate more. And while I laughed at it, right, because it was funny, it was entertaining, I thought for a second, I got kind of like dark, and I said, out of these collectively over 1 million people who liked such a comment on this single video, so there's 1,000, there's tens of thousands of these other videos, and millions and millions and millions of other comments very similar. I said, how many of these are a reflection of truth? That you're watching this garbage that's just a distraction, that doesn't fucking matter in the slightest, and you're actually inspired to hate more. And I said, that doesn't sound like God whatsoever. I said, that sounds like complete satanic result. I said, number one, you're giving all of your energy to this idol, right? To these celebrities. And so you're feeding into this divinity that is not God, that is not you. And then I said, and then it's inspiring within you to hate, to offer more hatred. I said, if this was from God, this whole performance, I said it would say, wow, this person has inspired me to love so much more. And so all I thought about was everything that you're seeing, all of these things that are perpetual distraction to keep you enslaved, to keep you asleep, to keep you fucking distracted. It's literally just an operation from the enemy. It's literally satanic by definition. Because what does it have you do? It inspires hatred. It inspires you to gossip and to talk about garbage that doesn't fucking matter. And what I've learned on my journey are these people who you deem as celebrities, as your idols, as that you're fans of, they're literally employed by the enemy to keep you asleep. Imagine if this is the game. Imagine if we talked about earlier in this lecture that presence is your power. Presence is your divine power. So you're present, right? You're not asleep. You're not thinking about something else. Whatever you're doing at the time, you're here, okay? You're able to harness your potential from presence. The game of the enemy is just to keep you lulled to sleep. To keep you lulled to sleep. Imagine them playing a fucking harp, right? And you're just lulled to sleep. Because what happens when you're not awake and you're asleep? You're distracted, you're numb, okay? They're able to implore their slavery on you and you don't question it. You don't question the society that you live in. You don't see how you're getting fucked on a daily basis, how you're being used, how you're being milked. Just like the people within the Matrix, you're being harvested for your time, your energy, your work, your output, just like a cattle. That's all you are to these people, right? Because if you were present, right, you would become aware of all of the abuse, of all of the bullshit, of all the illusions of your disempowerment. And then if you were awake and you were in the pursuit of truth, number one, you, like I said, you inevitably end up at God. But more than that, or not more than that, I don't think there's more than that, but you find the divinity that's within yourself if you're awake. So that gets, your software gets reprogrammed, is that idea that gets planted. That what if I have this level of divinity? You never reach that within your personal development so long as you're distracted. And so these motherfuckers for me, I can speak for this. Oh, this is funny. Oh, this is entertaining. No, this is satanic. This is manipulative. This is programming. This is conditioning, right? This is inspiring hatred. All this is a performance by the enemy. That's all it is, dude. These motherfuckers are used as to carry out his work, right? As his little puppets, his little slave masters to keep you asleep, to keep you in a perpetual state of forgetfulness about the power that's in you. I know that sounds fucking hippie, right? But it is so true. Because if you were awake, if you were having these healing and uplifting conversations about, I wonder if I have a godlike ability within myself. I wonder what would happen if I harnessed the ability to let go. I wonder what kind of power I would have by surrendering to the current of life, to my universe's, my nature's greatest design, right? Or you can perceive it as God's will, God's plan for you, which if you follow in that path of pursuing truth, like I said, we just end up at God. Because you have to think of God, or you don't have to, you can do whatever the fuck you want, but the greatest illustration of God is life as a reflection of yourself in its purest form, right? And I learned this from Jordan Peterson. Everyone has a God. It's just whatever your peak virtue is. So it's the one who has the unparalleled integrity, right? So when I'm talking about becoming Christ-like, it's the purification of you have complete love for your Judas, right? And so the whole quest is getting to that peak virtue that I am a fucking million miles away from, even though I consider myself of the utmost integrity as a man, right? But it's like, I'm not on that level of my enlightenment, of my development, of my pursuit to become that level of God, that level of Christ-like. But that's the beauty about surrendering to his plan, is all it is for your greatest good, right? Because by following in the path of truth, all you do is get up at your highest design, right? Your highest nature's design. And I learned this from the guy who harnesses Bashar. It's just you surrendering to your excitement, you following in your excitement. And he said, even something is just tiny bit more exciting and you feel like a little bit more longing to do this than that, follow in the one that even has a fraction bit more of excitement for you. And then you'll end up here. So this is just food for thought, but these are things I want you to consider. When you're watching a show, it's to fucking distract you. Because if you were awake, then you wouldn't be in a state of lack. If you were awake, you would be co-creating with God, with the universe. If you were awake, you would feel that level of calm, that level of peace. You wouldn't have an air of unpredictability that you were covered, that you were taken care of. There would be no doubts within your mind, within your heart that, no, it's going to be fine, dude, I'm good, right? So that's the quest. That's the direction that we're going. That's, if you're a student within this university, that is where we're going, right? Truth, principle, love, God, not deception for the demise of other people, right? Because I utilize deception that we're going to go over in this law to combat, just like you're playing a game of chess. It was my strategic move against the fucking abuse that I was enduring. So I want to paint that whole scene. It is so important because the whole game is just waking each other up. I said it in a prior lecture. We're just walking each other home. So when you have people come into your life and they're talking about fucking garbage, encourage them to shut the fuck up, to stop talking about that garbage. It doesn't matter. It's a distraction. It's keeping you asleep. It's removing your focus from your purpose, from your task, from what you've been called here to do. Okay. So this is where the narrative shifts of how you can utilize this tool of the surrender tactic for your benefit, right? It's a power play. It's not you enacting submission. No, it's you deceiving these tyrannical and abusive motherfuckers. Here we go. I employed this surrender tactic through complete and utter compliance and no emotional reaction resistance. I was just playing chess. What happened was the second letter that I got, not allowed to discuss the case, but I can share, what led up to my investigation. My serpent was giving me letter. Oh, my battery's gonna die, 1 second. So my serpent was giving me letter after letter to sign for my disrespectful conduct, for my negative impact on department goals, right? Professional gaslighting. And the caveat at the very bottom said this: failure to demonstrate immediate and sustained improvement in these areas may result in further disciplinary action up to and including termination of employment. The first time I got this, I was so heated. I permitted a reaction, right, from my serpent's provocation. I didn't repeat that mistake. And I was gifted, counsel from this angel in my life. I was gifted a video that popped up on my Instagram or YouTube algorithm that's saying, don't give them ammunition. They're imploring this level of abuse. They're trying to get a reaction from you, so then they have more ammo to use against you. So the second time they gave me this letter, where, it had that same threat, their same, trying to get a reaction from you, them utilizing intimidation, right? Literal, your job being threatened, them coercing, bullying, all of this fucking satanic practice to the detriment of one of God's children, right? I didn't show any emotion. I didn't even react. I just accepted the piece of paper. I signed it because it said, you signing here is acknowledgement of receiving this. And I didn't show my hand whatsoever. And so that is how I want to paint the picture of how you're going to use this law to your greatest benefit within the rat life, to combat these fucking serpents, because it completely disarms them, because they think that you've just surrendered. They think that you've given up. They think that you've literally just have killed over and you're just taking it, right? It's an appearance of surrender. But as we're going to discuss, it is your greatest weapon to slay these fucking serpents. Next. People trying to make a show of their authority are easily deceived by the surrender tactic. What gets us into trouble in the realm of power is often our own overreaction to the moves of our enemies and rivals. When you react, you're giving them ammunition. When you react from their fucking gaslighting, from their provocation, these victim motherfuckers will do that. These toxic serpents will play victim when you go there. And I saw a great video, and I'm gonna post it here.
Hey, can I be real for a second? Manipulation is when they blame you for your reaction to their toxic behavior, but never discuss their disrespect that triggered you.
He said, manipulation are these motherfuckers doing this garbage, getting a reaction from you, but then not describing any of their fucking behavior that caused your provocation, that caused your reaction. Fuck those motherfuckers. And what should give you great peace of mind are two things. Number one, the cognizance that they know exactly what they're doing. Three things. Number two, it is not in your head. It is not in your head. It is not in your head. There's a good quote, a good scene from Good Will Hunting where Robin Williams goes to Matt Damon. He's like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. And then when they hug, when he finally, lets go.
Fuck them, okay?
He says this, and I love this. He said, fuck them, period. And it's so true. You don't have to do anything to the people who abused you, right? God will take care of them. But there's no qualms. And that's why I love you can call them spirit guides, that the algorithms that my conscious is now projecting within, I don't know if anyone's going to resonate with what I'm saying, but when I pull up Instagram now, I'm seeing new people talk about, abuse and things that they're going through. It sort of gives me confirmation that I'm on the right path. It gave me a lot of healing when they said that, when they're going through abuse and calling out these serpents and the toxicity of these fucking horrific people, they said that too. They said, dude, fuck them. You're an angel. You're one of God's children. You're doing a great job. You're so loved. You are so protected. And for me personally, who doesn't have those kind of voices, omnipresent in my life, it is so comforting and it's so reassuring to hear that, right? And so I appreciate it. And it also gives you a little bit of good, positive confirmation bias that it's not in your head and you're not alone. That's what these angels would be telling me is do not react, because number one, you're giving them power, you're giving them fuel, you're literally putting coal in their fucking engine. But number two, you're able to conceal your tactic, your strategy, your next move, your ambition, your intellect. You're concealing all of that by literally having emotional stoicism, emotional control. So, and I'm going to get into it in the notes. It is such good practice. We hate these serpents, right? We hate these snakes. They're giving us the greatest gift. They're giving us a greater skill of emotional control, of stoicism, of, harboring the ability to not react, but to respond. They're gifting us in our character or in this video game such improved stats. Yes, I hate it. Yes, I don't want to go through this. Yes, this is miserable. This is hell, right? But thank you. And fuck you, right? And I don't have to do anything, right? God will. And that's the thing that these people, they don't fucking understand. When you are aligning in that path, you are protected by God. You're wearing his armor. And these motherfuckers, despite their deception, despite their deceit, their manipulation, their abuse, their bullying, they can't lay a fucking finger. They can't touch a single hair on your head. All right. The toxic snake will provoke and gaslight to elicit a reaction to reinforce their assault. It's 1000% true. I'm going to say it again to give you reassurance. The toxic snake will provoke and gaslight to elicit a reaction from you. It's the only fucking tool in their arsenal to reinforce their assault, right? You give them more ammunition, then they're able to report you again, which is literally what happened to me in my second letter, is for my, the first time they characterized it as an outburst for me standing up for the truth amongst disrespect. And then they said, he used a strong, I can literally read it, he used a strong, tone with me. It's from their gaslighting that I refuse to continue to tolerate, right? But then the victim won't say any of the behavior that they're fucking doing, but will write an essay about my reaction to their abuse, right? To their bullying, to their provocation. So just know that when they implore these, it's the biggest pathetic act of their desperation. And that's all it's a reflection of, is their insecurity, of their satanic behavior, and of their desperation and their fucking fear. Their fear of their own insecurities, but their fear of your power. And it's completely true. When this person, walks in the hallway, fucking, frozen deer in headlights when they see me, they are so terrified of the godlike presence within you. So just continue to walk in that light, and you will shatter these motherfucking snakes. Next. And this is a really good quote, and it's very true. I highly encourage you align with it. Do not resist or fight back. You'll catch them completely off guard, because they'll think that you're just an easy prey. They'll think that everything that they're doing, they're getting away with, that it's going over your head, that this is the easiest victory. And so they get very reckless. They get very short-sighted. They get very bold. Just like in the last lecture when I was talking about the lions and the jackals and the fucking hyenas moving in. And then, like that serpent with a long memory from a previous law, John Wick, then when it's your turn on the fucking chessboard, you decimate them completely. And again, you don't have to do anything. God will take care of them, which is awesome. It's awesome to have conviction and certainty that your victory is inevitable. It's fucking awesome. And I put this and I bolded it. Number one, we said, do not resist or fight back. You'll catch them completely off guard. The serpent is hoping for your reaction. And I put because, and I squared this. This is the most very important lesson takeaway. Write this down. They know the abuse that they're imploring. They know exactly what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I've spent years of my life being abused, being attempted manipulated by people. And because I'm not stupid, because I don't lack intellectual capacity, I'm very quick to forgive. I'm very compassionate. I'm very empathetic. My go-to software was surely they don't know what they're doing. Surely there's a language barrier. Surely they didn't mean that. No, they meant it. They did it on purpose. To see how much abuse they could fucking impart on you, how much disrespect they can impart on you. And you'll, within the context of the rat life, the people who have horrific leadership abilities, they inevitably abuse and are corrupted in their positions of authority, and they end up abusing, inevitably, every person that they oversee, right? It is the natural, inevitable consequence of the promotion of a fucking snake or a weasel rat. So, no, they're not oblivious to it. They're not to be forgiven. They're not to be forgotten. Their actions are not to be diminished. These motherfuckers know exactly what the fuck that they're doing. And they're going to get, and I could speak if the big man upstairs will allow me on his behalf, they will get exactly what's coming to them. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to harbor any animosity, any anger, any resentment, any spite. You don't have to punish yourself for someone else's mistake, because they will pay for it fucking gravely by God, and you don't have to do anything about it. Okay. But this ain't checkers, motherfucker, is what I wrote. In the battle of the intelligent against and then in the book he puts brutal and the aggressive, but I put AKA the serpent snake. The surrender tactic is the supreme weapon. It's the supreme weapon. And this is the notes that he put, and I love this. It requires the utmost self-control, which is a great virtue to develop as a man. Self-control. You're disarming your enemy's weapon and concealing your intentions of absolute decimation. It is so true. You forbid yourself to give them ammunition for their assault against you, right? From the provocation, from the abuse, the verbal manipulation, from the emotional projection, from the gaslighting from these motherfuckers. You don't give them any fuel to their fire, to their onslaught, but instead it's an appearance of surrender, an appearance of submission, appearance of you being weak, incapable, incompetent, everything just going over your head, you lacking the intellectual capacity and cognizance of everything that they're doing, everything that's going on, of all their manipulation, of all their abuse. No, because in reality, this is what you're doing. I don't want to skip ahead, but you're buying yourself time. You're playing a game of chess when they're playing fucking checkers. And it'll give you, it's, in terms of a law of power, it is the most powerful move on the chessboard at the time. Because you conceal all of your future actions, all of your intentions, all of your ambitions. You don't give them the foresight of an expected counterattack. And so you get their guard, you get to catch them later on completely off guard, and you'll be able to decimate them entirely. And one of the harshest and most severe lessons my serpent is learning in fucking real time is, number one, the consequence of their abuse, of their satanic behavior, of their oversight from their pride and from their ego and from their abuse. What happens as karma when you lay a hand on one of God's children, but also the consequence of what the result is of one man having the courage to stand up to you. One man having the courage to speak the truth, to stand up to this fucking bully. They couldn't fathom or conceptualize what kind of courage that would inspire for other people to call out all of this bullshit that's omnipresent within the organization. That's all of the abuse and bullying that they've all been subject to for years under these fucking snakes and serpents. That was a Pandora's box that they weren't expecting. That, no, all of these angels coming in for the protection of Tarkaux, right? And all of your bullshit being exposed. The truth coming to light, right? So in any any game that you're playing within the rat life, any abuse that you're enduring, understand one truth. And it's the truth will always win. If you align with God, there is no enemy that can defeat you. Because the last quote that I put, and I don't want to jump ahead, but if he be with us, who can stand against us? If you're aligning with love, with honor, with integrity, with courage, with truth, there is no fucking victory from any of these people. Even if they win, they live the rest of their life as fucking Ephialtes. May they live forever, right? With that level of fucking shame, with that internal hell and turmoil. They will never know peace. They will never know actual love from God or from other people. Nice. The surrender tactic is the supreme weapon. So it requires the utmost self-control. You're disarming your enemy's weapon and concealing your intentions of absolute decimation. And then I put, that is the power behind surrender. It gives you time to plot a devastating counterblow. And I said, I put that was one of Robert Greene's commentary. It gives you time, it affords you time to strategically maneuver. You're a shrewd chess player in this game. I was gonna say shrewd assassin. You're calculated, shrewd, and you have great cunning. And so that's the biggest, I want to say like counter barrage within your war, is when these people find out that you're smarter than them. And I don't want to take all of God's credit. I'm playing the video game of 1-9, and I have to share this. I learned this from Jim Caviezel. I'm so grateful that I saw this video. And he said, the game of life is like this. We start out saying 1 for me, 9 for God. And then over time we start to say 2 for me, 8 for God. And then we say 3 for me, 7 for God. And then by the time we're on our path, we say all for me, none for God. And I love that so much that I'm gonna do my best within my life to retain the 1 for me, 9 for God. So when I say this person made the mistake of thinking that they were smarter than me, I'm not omitting any of the protection that God has gifted me, any of the angel that he's placed in my life, any of the protection that he's afforded me, any of the things that he's done behind the scenes that I know nothing about, anything that he's protecting me from that I know nothing about, or all of the gifts that it's not from my own understanding or cognizance or behavior that is resulting in all of the abundance to come, or all of the good luck, or all of the favor. Yeah, I'm saying 1 for Tarek, fuck you to this serpent, 9 for God. So I love that so much, and it's such a good anchor when you're walking in the path of pride, of arrogance, of ego. And it's like, no, let's retain our fucking humility and not forget who brought us here. Like let's put, and I love this, it's a lesson that I'm learning for myself. Let's keep the glory to where it rightfully belongs. Because if you think that your victory from a spiritual war was won simply on your back, on the sweat on your shirt, that is the peak level of fucking arrogance, right? To think that you did this on your own, absent help, just because you don't see what's happening around you, when fucking armies are coming on your behalf. And so that should give you the biggest calm and peace and resolve when you're in the arena, at the battlefield, going toe-to-toe with these motherfuckers, is they have no idea who they're stepping into the arena with. And so I love that. And I hope that gives you guys some just good mental nourishment, man. I love that. It's such a comforting thought. 1 for me, 9 for God. And inevitable downfall when someone commits the worst act, which is hubris. Hubris. It is the downfall of many a man, or many a serpent snake. So that's the power behind surrender. So again, I'm going to reiterate what law number 22 is, which is use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. So this isn't submission. This is the appearance of surrendering, the appearance of submission. When you're just playing chess, you're cunning, you're shrewd, you're calculated, you're more intelligent than the enemy, than these serpent snakes operating in the shadows, utilizing manipulation, projection, gaslighting, bullying. You don't need to do any of that satanic garbage. While they think they're winning and achieving these little battle victories, you're winning the war. Over obedience, and this is something that I can't share it because it's related to the investigation of what I did, but I implored this, and so I can tell you firsthand it's very effective. Over obedience, which is surrender, you give a tone of mocking. So you're doing what they told you to do, but in such a way where they don't elicit any sort of satisfaction from it, because all you're doing is exposing their stupidity. And I did that with something that I was assigned, which, again, no ulterior motive, no, there was no way that I could conceptualize that, I was doing it to achieve what end that it resulted in achieving. So surrender, mocking your way to demonstrate, it's a way that Robert Greene describes as a way that you demonstrate your intellectual superiority, and it gives you an almost immunity. because they can't punish you for doing what they asked. And I put for fuck's sake in parentheses because I would literally, and I mentioned this within the case, but I'm not going to go into detail of the case, but she would literally try to reprimand me, and this was part of the abuse that she was imploring, for me literally following what they told me to do. And then this was a part of her harassment that I was enduring, was her verbally harassing me and bullying me when I would literally just be enacting what I was instructed to do by this serpent. And so I put that as the caveat. They can't punish you, and I put, yeah, for fuck's sake. This is the illustration of a relentless snake, which we'll talk about in a second, for doing what they asked. But that's the great irony of over-obedience, which is a form of surrender. It literally is almost mocking to them, and it's such a crush and blow to their stupidity and their ego. The surrender tactic disguises your ambition, teaches you patience and self-control, all excellent virtues that we're working to exalt on our path of personal development, of progression within just the journey of masculinity in general. And I put, it also gifts you your best positioning within the game. It does. It is the most useful tool when you're under that barrage from the enemy and they think that you're all but defeated. Very, very poor thought. And then I put, there's a quote from Jesus, and it says, "Resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also." And so when I got my first letter of warning with the threat that, you're going to get fired if you continue to do my disrespectful conduct, I love that I enacted the surrender tactic represented in the second letter that I received, where I harbored emotional stoicism, where I did not react, where I did not engage in their attempted harassment, bullying, abuse, provocation. I literally walked in the path of being Christ-like, and I did not resist not evil. So you're not resisting, you're doing the surrender tactic. But whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, the first letter threatening my employment, turn to him the other also. So turn to him from this cheek? No, here, take this one too. And I love that, because if you're doing that, you are aligning with God and your victory will be certain. Certain. All right, we're almost done. But I had to share that because that's an amazing parallel from God and with what we're discussing within the rat life and what I've experienced in real time. Reversal. So at the end of these laws, he talks about a reversal when the reverse could be to your benefit, could be plausible as a power tactic. There are times when the enemy will not relent, and I can speak to this personally from my serpent snake, a relentless assault. Even when I was imploring over obedience, they continued to punish me for doing what they asked. So there are times when the enemy will not relent. Martyrdom seems the only way out. If you are willing to die, others may gain power, and I underline this, and inspiration from your example, and I put in parentheses, of courage standing up to the bullies. And it's exactly what has happened in real time, and it's the most unexpected chess move that the prideful and the narcissistic and the egotistical is something that they never expect. They never fathomed the courage that would be inspired by one man who is a child of God standing up to a fucking bully, to a serpent snake, to doing what's right. Because in their peak stupidity and their peak arrogance and their peak blinded from their insecurity, their pride, their satanic behavior, that thought didn't cross the mind because of their sheer stupidity. So that should give you, again, a lot of comfort, a lot of reassurance. And I'm going to repeat it. There are times when the enemy will not relent. So if you're going through, if you're in a place right now in your life where you're going through perpetual abuse from someone, okay, martyrdom seems to be the only way out. If you're willing to die for others, and I was willing to give my life to not give up, as in what I endured at this rat life, it brought me to the point where I didn't want to live anymore. And that was something that I shared with my cardiologist, that I shared with my director of human resources, because it was completely true. And I love how we talk about everything aligning into your life and you having to see certain things. And one thing that I saw was an episode of Suits where Harvey Specter was like, I wanted to quit every day. And then the other guy, he's like, oh, and let me guess, you didn't. And he said, I quit every goddamn day, but I never showed them, because I wasn't going to allow them to fucking break me. And that's exactly what I endured. And again, it's all reassuring when you see these things and you question about your path in life and how you needed to go through this, you needed to watch this. It was written for me to watch that episode of Suits to give me this sort of, comfort and reassurance that I'm on the right path, that I'm perpetually guided, that I've always been guided, and that I'm literally aligning with God on this pursuit within rat life. And I lived that out in real time. It brought me to the point where I didn't want to live anymore. It was my peak level of despair, no hope, fucking hated getting out of bed. I was literally in that state of depression where your body's just in complete ache every day, where you literally are. Joe Dispenza articulates it that because we can predict the emotions of the day, when you're going through the same routine of misery, of your soul being on fire, playing a character that's not you, which is the definition of depression, your mind will be able to predict how you're going to feel for the day to come. So your body will resign from the start of the day. It resigns to the emotions of the day because it knows exactly what you're going to be feeling. So when I knew that I was going to wake up to go to work, and my reward was abuse, my reward was harassment, was bullying, was attempted manipulation, and I knew that was what I was going to be subject to, with my cortisol being jacked, my fucking heart rate being elevated, my fight or flight being perpetual, and then that was my everyday. I never showed them. As in, I said, I'm gonna fucking dress, I'm gonna dress sharp, I'm gonna show up correct, and I'm gonna give my fucking best today, knowing the abuse and the fucking hell that was to come. I said, but I am not giving up. I said, I'm not allowing these motherfuckers to break me, even to the point where they would assign me shit and tasks that they reported me for. Like the level of satanic abuse and bullying, it was just, I shared this I think in a prior lecture, that the best way that I could articulate it, it literally felt like, and I think any person of like sexual or physical abuse could attest to this. While I haven't experienced that personally, this is the sentiment that I get when they share their experiences with me. It's kind of like when you've been sexually abused by someone and then the next day they put their hand on your shoulder. And that was the state that I was living in within my rat life at work that brought me to that peak level of fucking despair, not wanting to live anymore. And knowing that there was nothing that I could fucking do about it because of how the whole game is sort of set up. But then the only thing that gave me the reassurance to go one more day, was trust in God. And I would tell them to tell this to him on these walks. I would say, I know you can take me out at any time. I know that at any time, and it's the quote from the Bible, according to your faith be it unto you. As in, if you believe something, it's done. And then that quote, it's actually the number one thing of manifestation, that whatever you believe or ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. It's like Mark or Matthew something. And so I had that resolving conviction with God. I said, I know you can take me out at any time, and you're choosing not to. And so I have to believe that this is all happening for my best interest. You're doing this for me. You're doing this for me. Because I would always catch myself and not harbor any hubris of hating God or saying, this is unfair, or, I don't deserve this, or I didn't say any of that. I would let God know on walks, literally with tears flooding down my face, that I hate this. I fucking hate this so much. I know when I'm zoomed out and I have, I tap into my divine self, my higher self, that this is happening for me. And I told God, I said, I'm sure X amount of time from now, I'm going to be thanking you for having me go through this, that you're gifting me exactly what I said that I'm asking for. But I just want you to know that this is fucking hell and I don't know how much longer I could take of it. And that I'm getting to the fucking edge here, that I'm getting to the end of the video game where I do not want to live anymore. And that gave me a lot of strength, or just the amount of strength that I needed to go one more day. And I've learned on my journey that you'll never be given a cross that you can't bear. And I've gotten it to the point where it was unbearable, where I couldn't take it anymore. Even when I would offload all of it, I would say, God, this is on you, and I would, give myself as much relief as I possibly could when I would take on as much as I possibly could by myself until it literally, was fucking soul and almost life crushing. But then if you persevere to until, I'm living proof of this, you'll be liberated. You'll be liberated. When what you're going through right now is no longer conducive to your greatest good, until that happens, you won't be liberated from it, because it's serving a higher purpose for you. So when you're going through this pain, this agony, like I have been, all of this abuse, all of this bullying, all of this fucking garbage from these satanic fucks, it was for me. Whether it was making me more emotionally stoic, having greater emotional control, having greater patience, being a better, more sharper, combatant in the intellectual and mental arena, whether it was increasing my faith within God. Like, it was just, all it was doing was benefiting me and serving me. But then when I reached that tipping point, January 8th, when I got placed on paid administrative leave, all that was a reflection from God that this place is no longer serving your best interests anymore. And that's exactly the day that you'll be removed from it. So if you're in a horrific environment, at some fucking level, it has to be serving you in some way. And I know that's a bold statement for people who are, enduring abuse, but I challenge you to think beyond yourself and the abuse that you're going through. If you don't have the option to leave it, which I knew that it was my required assignment because of my perpetual output and work ethic to try to get a new job. So I knew that was another thing that gave me resolve that, I know what I want, which is freedom, and I'm doing everything that I possibly can to be free, so that I know that while all of this is constantly getting denied, this is my required design. So I think that's very different from somebody who's enduring, physical or sexual abuse in an environment that they have the option to leave, that they're choosing not to. I think that's a different story. But if you would challenge yourself to zoom out and say, any person that you study who chooses not to be a victim and they choose to be a hero of their story, they all say a very similar, share a similar sentiment, that I would never wish this on anyone, of all the pain and hell that I went through, but I'm so glad that I went through it. It made me such a stronger person. It made me the beacon of light and hope that I am for other people now who are enduring the exact same thing. And perhaps that was the purpose. Perhaps my greater purpose for enduring all of this is so I can resonate with all of this that I'm now sharing here within these lectures, that I endured the abuse of these laws in real time, and I enacted the power plays. I just didn't know the definition of them, but I just sort of utilized, number one, my help from God, but number two, my own strength, my own wisdom, my own courage, right? My own patience. And so it's just a good food for thought to constantly look for the good, constantly look for the, how is this happening for me, right? But I can share with you guys now personally that it does not make it easier, what I'm saying, when you're going through hell. But all I can say is that all you have to do is do your best to hold on one more day, to try again one more time, because you will reach breakthrough. Something will give. Do you know what I'm saying? And not give as in you give up on the video game. Something will give as in when it's no longer serving your best interests, your highest good. God will step in when these motherfuckers cross that line, and I'm a living testimonial of that. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives some sort of reassurance and peace of mind. But that was the one thing from that show Suits that I never allowed. I never allowed this motherfucker to break me. I never quit. I said, I am never giving up. I'm not allowing a satanic fucking bitch to be my downfall, to be my detriment, for me to throw in my fucking towel in my dreams. I said, there's no fucking chance. I don't care what abuse I'm going to have to endure. I am willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to be free. And that path to heaven that we talked about not just looks like hell, is hell. You know what I'm saying? Because God, and I saw this in a video from Jim Caviezel, God will take you to the edge. He'll take you to the edge. If you say you want freedom, it's enacting this quote, if you're willing to die. Like I'm literally willing to die to be free in my one life. And so he took me to the edge of that. Like not just almost dying with my fucking heart complications and, you know, your heart seizing up and being in a perpetual state of, you know, fight or flight. And I've never had physical symptoms of stress before within my entire life because I have a very, very high stress tolerance. And so being at that point from this job where I literally thought I was going to die, so just in terms of my, you know, medical ramifications, and then also mentally being brought to the point where I didn't want to live anymore, it's you going to the edge. And it's like, God will take you to the edge. Like he's going to make sure you don't die, you know, but he'll take you to the fucking edge if you have the courage to ask for it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I asked for freedom. And so I said, I just want to be free. And I would ask myself all the time on walks, you know, sweetheart, what do you want? What do you really want? And I would always say, I just want to be free. I just want to be free. I just want to be free. And so anything that you're incurring, that's God giving you exactly what you say that you wanted. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this level of abuse is what you're going to have to endure. But my son, this is me imagining him talking to me, I promise you that you're going to be living very soon a life bigger than you could have ever imagined. Do you know what I'm saying? Very soon you'll be in tears of gratitude from this gift. I know it feels like hell right now, but from your strength and courage of enduring this, let me show you the reward, right? So I fucking love this. All right, to finish, last thing. Your strength, I put is God. And I said, if he be with us, who can stand against us? It's very true, man. Anyone who's going through abuse, anyone who's going through bullying, anyone who's going for fucking the rat life's harassment, misery, despair, and you bring to the point where your soul is on fucking fire, you don't want to live anymore. Understanding that if you're aligned with God, if you're aligned with truth, if you're aligned with the, you know, doing what's right, standing up and in defense for the weaker people around you who lack the courage or the ability to stand up, to fight, to defend themselves. Understand, number one, you're doing the right thing. Understand, number two, you are divinely protected. Because by following in that path, you fall into the category of one of God's children. One of God's children. So the ones who are God's children, dude, he will fucking decimate the motherfuckers who dare lay a hand on you. And I'm literally living that out in real time right now. That I don't have to impart any personal vindication, any vengeance, any hatred, any, you know, and that's more easier said than done because I have still the greatest disdain for all that I've endured. And you have that, anybody who's been through hell, you have that frustration and anger, and you just want to, you know, you have all of the violent thoughts about, you know, the people who have done so horribly to you, and you'll live that out. You know, you'll live out all the anger and all the frustration for all of the pain that you had to endure. Do you know what I'm saying? But there will come a day, there will come a time where number one, karma will decimate them, but also that you'll be living out your dream life that they never will. And you'll know greater calm and greater peace that they never will. And you'll be thanking God that, number one, for seeing you through this, but number two, for gifting you the life that you're now living, because it's going to be a fucking dream life. As in, all of this hell, all of this pain, the price for freedom, happiness, love, fulfillment, ecstasy for a lifetime, I said that's a price that I would happily and willingly pay. So with that, that is law number 22. Use the surrender tactic, submission. But it's not submission, it's the appearance of submission, the appearance of surrender. Use the surrender tactic, transform weakness into power. And with that, this is Rat Life University, but this is just the university part of Rat Life. I want to differentiate that. So what is Rat Life? Anyone can escape, anyone can live free, anyone. It starts with belief and the courage to pursue. That is Rat Life. Rat Life University, I got the inspiration from it from Walt Disney, because he had a university called Walt Disney University that was perpetual personal development for all of his executives. And so that gave me the inspiration for this. I said, I want my entire team, so everyone who wants to support myself, to support Tarek Hawks, to be a part of Rat Life, I want everyone to be given the same equal access to the best literature ever written on personal development. So that is the university portion of Rat Life, but the whole so that's the university of, you know, Rat Life University. But Rat Life, this cause, this purpose, this mission is just for freedom forever. That's what we're all doing this for. Freedom forever. As in any person, dude. I don't care what your fucking background is, how far behind you think you are, how much debt you have, what your demographic is, how disadvantaged you feel, how you started. You're going down the bodybuilding route, and I was 6'2" at 145 pounds when I first started. I don't give a fuck how far behind or disadvantaged or less than you think you are. Anyone can escape. Anyone can live free. Anyone can close the gap of their potential in any category. Anyone can have their dream woman. Anyone can have their dream financial prosperity and abundance in life. Anyone can have their dream physique. It doesn't fucking matter. It's not for the sacred, the special, the elite few, right? Anyone can live, breathe, and die with the taste of freedom forever upon their lips. That is rat life. So that idea that anyone can escape, anyone can live free under any of those terms, right? It starts with belief. It's possible. I'm worthy of it, despite what a fucking world and a lifetime of negative conditioning would otherwise have you believe. Like in Good Will Hunting, fuck them. Fuck them, right? You are worthy. You are enough. You are deserving of all of this abundance, of all of this love. We have to remind ourselves that. We're walking each other home. We're helping each other shatter these fucking limiting beliefs. And the courage to pursue. Part of the pursuit isn't just your, working towards it by letting go of how. Part of the pursuit is also the courage to let go, to surrender. Surrender to the flow, your current within your nature's design, within life, within God. Surrendering. It's not giving up control. It's not giving up control. I can't stress that enough. It's you having the courage to let go, which takes way more courage than holding on. Holding on is a perfect illustration of your fear. Whatever you're holding on to, you're so afraid. I saw a good quote by a pastor. He said, when it comes to love, the only reason you're holding on to it is because you think this is the best love or the only love you'll ever get. As in, again, that's a reflection of lack. Because if you knew that you were going to get love from all of these other places, you would have a lot of confidence to let go of this, right? But because we think this is the last time, the last thing, my last chance at love, at financial prosperity, at freedom, that's why we hold on. It's just fear. So it takes a lot more strength, a lot more courage to let go, to surrender. So with that, law number 22 done. We'll see you guys in law number 23 tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed.